I'm looking for Cheryl. She wasn't at the hospital with her Nana.
No, she's gone.
Things are truly starting to heat up on Riverdale, so let's break down Season 2, Episode 16 here on What Happened. Excuse me guys, but what the hell just happened on tonight's Riverdale? I am still trying to recover, but I think this might be one of the best episodes in a while. But there are also plenty of frustrating things. I think I spent most of the episode either cringing because I'm looking at Archie and just wanting to slap him across the face, or I was just like, oh shiz, did you see what just happened? Yeah, like that Josie moment. Yeah, totally was like, hell yeah. So this episode was basically like we're watching two movies squished together. On one side, you have this whole election / Manchurian candidate type thing because Archie's either clearly brainwashed or just stupid. And then on the other hand, you have this whole horror movie in the vein of Rosemary's Baby and American Horror Story Asylum shiz happening, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like both individually really work, but when they're crammed together in one episode, it can be a little hard to ping pong back and forth between these two things because the moods are completely different. Anyway, what we have here in this episode is the beginning of the revolution against the lodges, and I'm also happy that Molly Ringwald is back as Mary, and she is not afraid to put Archie in his place. We also have Chic still being creepy, and Alice finally fesses up to Chic not being of Cooper blood and having a relationship with FP, but she adamantly insists that FP is not Chic's father. I think we just need to call in Jerry Springer Maury-Povich to really get to the bottom of this situation. Now, before I get to the recap, I did interview Tiara Scobie, who plays Polly Cooper on this show. I interviewed her late last week, so if you want to see that, where she talks about Polly and Chic and whatever, you can click the link in the description. It'll also be at the very end of this video. She also talks about Once Upon a Time if you're a fan of that show. For now, though, let's break down this episode. We'll start off with creepy psycho Chic. Betty confronts Chic, calling him an imposter, and they take the news to Alice, who confirms that Hal isn't Chic's father, but she says that he is her son. Like I said earlier, I will wait until I see Alice take a DNA test and Chic take a DNA test before I fully believe that those two are also related. Alice refuses to tell them who the father is, and of course she is still sitting on Chic's side, and it's another episode where Chic gives one of those really creepy stares that will be ingrained in my nightmares tonight. Betty and Cheryl might not seem like they have much in common besides some Blossom blood, but it turns out they both don't feel safe in their own homes in this episode. More on Cheryl's story in a bit, but I enjoyed the split second of cousin bonding during the sleepover, even if it was over something so distressful and creepy. It's the first time I think we've also heard Cheryl call Betty Cousin Betty, right? Well, looks like Betty is done playing nice with Chic, and when she returns home and finds Chic and Kevin sharing some milk and cookies, she is not having it. Betty threatens Chic and basically teases bringing out Dark Betty to play, which she kinda does when he's asleep. She sits on his bed and plays with a lighter over his face and threatens him. I just hope that Betty is also locking her door at night, because who's to say Chic's not gonna turn all darker Chic on her and just walk in the middle of the night into her room when she's asleep and like slit her throat or something. Chic, being the master manipulator he is, goes and tattles to Alice, who again sticks up for Chic. Chic gave Alice Betty's wig and says that it's what she wears when she's having sex with Jughead, which was apparently just a lucky guess on Chic's part, and I hope that's true, and I hope he's not watching those two have sex. Either way, it sets Alice off, and she seems shocked and upset that Betty and Jughead are having sex. She ends up calming down and talks to Betty and just says that she hopes they're being safe because she knows how alluring those Jones men can be. Yep, Alice finally confirmed what we already knew since I feel like the beginning of the show, that she had a romance with FP Jones at some point when they were younger. However, when Betty asks if FP is Chic's father, Alice denies it. But like I said, not believing anything until DNA tests are done on pretty much everybody. And I know that people have been saying that FP is Chic's father and they want that to happen, but I love FP so much that I would not wish this crazy man on them, tainting the Jones bloodline. Like, they are too good for that. Now, Alice says she knows Chic is damaged, but he's been without love for 25 years, so they gotta give him a chance. Oh, Alice, 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 you are just so blind. But I guess what they say is true. Love is blind, whether it's the romantic or family kind, because Archie's acting all kinds of blind in this episode too. Betty tries to call a truce with Chic, but he's not really having it because he doesn't trust her, and they threaten each other more with outing each other for murdering them or murdering someone, or, you know, hiding a body. And yeah, it just ends up with Betty asking Jughead if she can stay with him because she doesn't feel safe in her own home. Now for Cheryl, she's basically living her own horror movie in this episode and what seems like it's going to be the next few. She's having trouble sleeping and keeps thinking she hears someone trying to break into her room at night, but of course Penelope just calls her crazy and says she's worse than Nana Rose. Then Penelope and Claudius discuss taking over Nana's stewardship of the syrup business right in front of her, and Nana Rose calls them out for being vultures because she's like, hey, I'm not dead yet. So what do? They pump Nana Rose full of Penelope's special tea, which contains tannis root that Penelope is growing at the house. And no, Nana Rose does not go to the sunken place. Now this tannis root is the fictional root used in Rosemary's Baby, so you know things are about to get dark. After Tony slays her routine at Vixen's practice and makes a team, Cheryl invites the inner Vixens, aka B, V, Josie, and Tony, over for a sleepover, where they have this hair brushing train, which does that actually happen at sleepovers? Anyway, Cheryl and Betty both confess that they don't feel safe living in their own homes. Now, when everyone is asleep, Choni fans get a sweet moment when Cheryl tells Tony that she actually only wanted to invite her over, but she knew she couldn't because of Penelope. They're about to have their first kiss when Nana Rose interrupts because they hear a loud thud and they see Nana Rose on the ground at the end of the stairs. It seems like someone pushed her down the stairs. Now to Claudius and Penelope's dismay, Nana Rose is still alive because she is a freaking fighter. At the hospital, Cheryl learns from the doctor about the tannis root in Nana's system, and of course Penelope and Claudius have already made up some dumb excuse for that, and they're also blaming it on Nana having sundowner syndrome. Penelope then barges in and whisks Cheryl away, and Cheryl makes the mistake of telling Penelope about her theory of Nana Rose being pushed down the stairs. Now Penelope says Cheryl's gone mad, so she has no choice. We then see Cheryl locked up at the Sisters of Quiet Mercy, where she's about to undergo conversion therapy for her naughty thoughts. In other words, gay conversion therapy. Yeah, they went there. Or also some kind of conversion therapy to maybe think her family's not as crazy as they are. We also see Tony go to the house to find Cheryl, but Penelope tells her she's gone away to an all-girls boarding school in Switzerland, and she tells Tony to not come around again, but Tony totally does not believe what Penelope's saying, so she better team up with Jughead and Betty or something to find out where Cheryl is and swoop in and save the day. It can turn into like the Scooby Gang again, solving the mystery. As for the lodges, it seems like things are starting to fall apart and they're trying to save their asses. Hermione gives Hal an interview for the paper about their plans with the prison, and we get an awkward cameo from Andy Cohen, who is endorsing Hermione. Since the news is on the front page, Hiram and Hermione tell Veronica multiple times to lay low and not warrant any extra attention. Well, Veronica has a bit of trouble with that at school. Ethel Mugg goes all glee on Veronica's butt, throwing a milkshake in her face, and then as Reggie is hanging up his campaign posters for student president, he makes a jab at Hiram being the first inmate in the prison he's building, which causes Veronica to do the Arthur fist or the Dark Betty fist and knock Reggie's butt to the ground. Of course, that is not laying low, and Hiram and Hermione are not happy. Veronica then decides to run for student president with Betty as a running mate. Veronica also tries to make things right with people by telling Ethel the lodges can give her dad a job at the prison, but it seems like it's just too little, too late. Veronica also tries to make amends with Josie and bribes Josie into endorsing her campaign as a celebrity with the promise of being on Watch What Happens Live. As Josie's giving her endorsement speech for Veronica, and then we have to sit through a bit of an awkward Schoolhouse Rock sing-along, Ethel walks in and passes out flyers calling out Veronica for all the things she's lied about and exposing everything, which ends up causing some fallout between Betty and Veronica. For Veronica, it causes her to go home crying to Hermione about how she thought she could use running as school president as a shield so people would stop looking at her family like they're criminals and like she's a criminal too. Well, it seems like everything backfired and I had to let out a hell yeah, like I was kind of fist pumping when we saw who fed Ethel all those juicy details. It was none other than Josie herself. Well played. This episode also pits Jughead against Archie again, and Archie against his own family. Fred wants to sever all ties with Lodge Industries, so he brings in the big guns to help him out with breaking the contract. That is Mary Andrews. The negotiations with the lodges don't seem to be going well, and of course Archie and his dumbass are still sitting there defending the lodges any chance he gets. I don't know how he could choose the shady lodges and Veronica over the awesome Fred. I mean, Veronica's good, but she isn't that great, is she? And is she really worth all this trouble that he's getting himself into, which could basically ruin him for his future? Well, thanks to everything going on, Jughead has gone on hunger strike to protest the closing of Southside High, which eventually gets back to Hiram, who has moved up the demolition of the high school to the end of the week and orders Archie to send a message to Jughead. All that does is just get Jughead revved up even more, and he grabs his serpent pals and they chain themselves to the school in protest. Hiram even tries to bribe FP with the promise of a penthouse big enough to bring the whole Jones family back together, but FP says he turned it down. But are we so sure about that? I just want the rest of the Jones family to show up. You know, Jellybean and Jughead's mom. I think I've put it out there before. I know Skeet Ulrich has put it out there that we kind of want Neve Campbell to play Jughead's mom because it's a cool little Scream reunion. So hopefully we get those characters by the end of the season. Now, after getting called out for being disrespectful to Fred by Mary, Archie goes to see Hiram, and Hiram tells Archie to gather up the wrestling team and remove Jughead and the Serpents from the school with force. Archie doesn't want to, but of course the Blood Pact is brought up, so Archie has to agree, and he does it on the condition that Hiram lets Fred out of his contract. Minion Archie then goes and does Hiram's dirty work and cuts the Serpents from their chains, much to Jughead's dismay, and the lines are definitely drawn now. Also though, everyone's standing around filming what Archie is doing, so yeah, it's never going to be forgotten. All this drama with Archie has inspired 2 people to run for office. Jughead's going to run for school president with Betty as his co-president, and Fred has gotten out of his contract with Hiram and is going to run for mayor against Hermione, and yep, Mary says she's sticking around to help out. And that seems to wrap up most of the events of this episode. It was a pretty jam-packed one, and now we're finally really diving into this war, and I feel like Archie and Veronica will be at the losing end of this one, unless Veronica takes a stand against her parents, and Archie finds a way to play both sides. Now, I've never been the biggest fan of Archie as a character on this show, but these last few episodes have really solidified my kind of dislike for him. He basically doesn't seem like he can think for himself, and he keeps negotiating all these things thinking that he's helping, but we just know that Hiram will hold them over his head in the long run. As far as Cheryl goes, I always knew Penelope wouldn't be happy with the relationship with Tony, but I never saw the storyline going that dark. But I gotta say, Madeleine has been killing it lately with her performances in these episodes. And this Chic dude, he's also got to hit the highway and get out of here. And I don't know about you guys though, but I kind of want more of the Alice and FP relationship. I need more scenes with Alice and FP, and then maybe we can just push Chic out and they can make a new baby or something. As far as the theories go, many of you seem to think that there's no real Claudius and it's Clifford who faked his own death, or there is a Claudius, but you know, he was killed in the place of Clifford in the hanging, and this is really Clifford in town. That could be true, but it also seems like a lot of work for Clifford if the only result was him just getting back his money, but I guess he also gets out of being in trouble for the whole drug ring thing, so Now let's take a look at the promo for the next episode.
Many traumas.
I think they did something to her.
They found it, FP.
We act like everything's normal.
Whatever you do not come home.
Okay, so this next episode looks like it's even going to be more intense and more straight up horror suspense thriller movie than this episode, and I am super excited. For now though, hit the comments, let me know your thoughts on this episode. What were your favorite moments, or what moment shocked you the most? Also, what are you excited to see happen in the next episode or in the upcoming episodes? Any new theories you're mulling over when it comes to Chic or Claudius or anything like that? Let me know, then you can click right over here for my interview with Tiara Scobie or my interview with the cast of Supernatural from this week's Paley Fest. If you like what you see, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and my name's Lisa. I'll see you guys again next time here in Riverdale, or my bedroom.